Ray Lewis murder. It was supposed to be a night of celebration. Champagne, limousines, and velvet ropes under the glow of Super Bowl weekend in Atlanta, January 31st, 2000. NFL stars packed the Cobalt Lounge, and at the center of it all was Ravens linebacker Ray Lewis, the face of Baltimore's rising defense. But when the lights went out, the party turned into a crime scene. Outside the club, an argument erupted. Shouting, fists, then chaos. Moments later, two men lay bleeding in the street. Lewis sped away in a stretch limo. His white suit, the one he wore that night, vanished, never to be found again. Police discovered blood inside the car. Witnesses pointed fingers. Lewis was charged with double murder. The league's most feared defender suddenly faced life in prison. But in a stunning twist, he cut a deal, testifying against his friends, pleading guilty only to obstruction. The murder charges disappeared. Lewis returned that fall, won Defensive Player of the Year, and hoisted a Super Bowl MVP trophy. The NFL celebrated redemption. The families never got justice. Aaron Hernandez. Aaron Hernandez wasn't just a football player. He was a phenomenon. A Pro Bowl tight end catching touchdowns from Tom Brady, a $40 million contract, and a future that looked untouchable. But beneath the highlight reels was a man unraveling. In 2013, police found the body of Odin Lloyd, shot to death near Hernandez's mansion. Evidence piled up fast. Cell records, surveillance footage, and witnesses placing him at the scene. The Patriots cut him immediately, and in 2015, he was convicted of first-degree murder. While serving life without parole, he was tried for 2 more murders, then shockingly acquitted. Just days later, Hernandez was found dead in his prison cell. His death ruled a suicide. His brain later revealed to have severe CTE, damage usually seen in players twice his age. The story of Aaron Hernandez isn't just about crime. It's about how fame, violence, and mental deterioration can coexist inside one man. The NFL scrubbed his name, but his story exposed the darkness football tried to forget. Ray Carruth Hit Job. In 1999, Ray Carruth was living every NFL dream. A first-round pick, a rising wide receiver for the Carolina Panthers, handsome, talented, and wealthy. But behind closed doors, Carruth wanted something gone. His pregnant girlfriend, Sherika Adams. One night after a movie, she followed him home in her car. Suddenly, another vehicle pulled alongside. Gunfire erupted. Adams was hit 4 times, but miraculously managed to call 911, naming Carruth as the man who'd blocked her car so the shooter could fire. She died weeks later, but her baby, Chancellor Lee Adams, survived, born with brain damage from oxygen loss. Carruth fled, hiding in the trunk of a car with food, cash, and a phone. He was caught, convicted of conspiracy to commit murder, and sentenced to nearly 20 years in prison. He's free now, living quietly, but the damage is permanent. The son he tried to erase lives with lifelong disabilities. The mother he betrayed became his legacy. Some NFL stories end in triumph. This one ended in tragedy by design. The Darren Sharper scandal. For years, Darren Sharper was the NFL's golden boy. 5-time Pro Bowler, Super Bowl champion, and charming media personality after retirement. Then, everything unraveled. In 2013, women began coming forward, claiming Sharper had drugged and assaulted them. At first, it sounded impossible, but the pattern was undeniable. Investigators across 4 states, California, Nevada, Arizona, and Louisiana, uncovered a horrifying routine. He'd meet women at clubs, spike their drinks, and attack them while they were unconscious. 9 confirmed victims, dozens more suspected. He was charged in multiple jurisdictions, with prosecutors describing him as a serial predator hiding behind fame. In 2016, Sharper pleaded guilty to multiple counts of rape and conspiracy to distribute controlled substances. He was sentenced to 18 years in prison. The NFL, eager to distance itself, erased his name overnight. No highlight reels, no Hall of Fame debates, no redemption tours. Sharper's story wasn't just about crime, it was about trust, celebrity, and how darkness can hide in plain sight. The league wanted silence. History refused to give it. Marvin Harrison shootings. He was quiet, humble, and lethal on the field. Marvin Harrison, the Hall of Fame receiver for the Colts, built a reputation for precision routes and zero drama. Then retirement came, and the silence turned sinister. In 2008, a man named Dwight Dixon accused Harrison of shooting him outside a Philadelphia car wash that Harrison owned. Ballistics linked shell casings at the scene to a gun registered in Harrison's name. Dixon survived the first shooting. A year later, he was gunned down again, this time fatally. Before dying, he reportedly told police he believed Harrison was behind both attacks. Authorities admitted they considered the former NFL star a person of interest, but the case never made it to trial. Too little evidence, too much power. The NFL stayed quiet, and Harrison's spotless image remained intact. Today, it's an unsolved mystery. One of the few murder cases where a Hall of Famer's name still hovers like smoke over the scene. Junior Seau's final play. For 20 years, Junior Seau was the heartbeat of every defense he touched. Chargers, Dolphins, Patriots, it didn't matter. He was an energy source, a leader, and a legend. Then, 2 years after retiring, Seau was gone. In 2012, he took his own life with a gunshot to the chest. He left no note, no explanation, just a stunned family and a broken sport. When scientists examined his brain, they found advanced CTE, chronic traumatic encephalopathy, a degenerative disease caused by repeated hits to the head. His brain resembled that of a man decades older. The discovery forced the NFL to confront a reality it had ignored for years. Football was breaking its players from the inside. Seau's death became the tipping point, the moment the league could no longer hide behind PR statements. He wasn't just a victim, he was proof that toughness has limits, and every tackle carries a cost no paycheck can fix. The NFL's $1 billion lie. After decades of denial, lawsuits finally cornered the NFL. Over 4,500 retired players, men who could no longer speak clearly, remember their kids' names, or live without pain, sued the league. Their claim that the NFL knew about the long-term dangers of head trauma and hid it. Documents revealed the league had funded research designed to minimize risk, misled players, and called concussions dings. In 2015, the NFL agreed to a $1 billion settlement to compensate victims and families. It sounded like justice, but the truth was uglier. Many players never saw a dime. Others were denied compensation because of strict medical definitions that excluded them. The NFL got to look compassionate without admitting guilt. Behind the money was silence, an agreement to stop digging. But for the families of Junior Seau, Mike Webster, and hundreds of others, the damage couldn't be paid off. The concussion crisis wasn't solved, it was simply priced. And the players, they're still paying. The Washington scandal. Before the name change, before the rebrand, there was Washington's dirty secret, a culture of harassment, intimidation, and exploitation that ran for decades under owner Dan Snyder. Dozens of women came forward describing constant verbal abuse, sexual harassment, and toxic leadership. Cheerleaders were allegedly pressured into private photo shoots for sponsors, while employees were told to toughen up or lose their jobs. In 2020, the Washington Post exposed everything, prompting an investigation the NFL conveniently refused to release in writing. Commissioner Roger Goodell accepted the findings orally. No paper trail, no transparency. Snyder kept his team, then sold it years later for over $6 billion. The league called it closure, but everyone saw it for what it was, a cover-up disguised as accountability. The women who spoke up were silenced. The man responsible walked away richer than ever. Washington didn't just change its name, it buried a generation of victims under it. Bountygate. In 2012, the New Orleans Saints were flying high. Super Bowl champions, fan favorites, and the heart of a post-Katrina comeback story. Then the NFL dropped a bombshell. A whistleblower revealed that defensive coordinator Greg Williams and his players had run a bounty system. Cash bonuses for injuring opponents, $1,000 for a knockout hit, $1,500 if they had to be carted off. The audio was undeniable. Kill the head, the body will die, Williams said in one team meeting. The fallout was nuclear. Head coach Sean Payton suspended for a year, Williams banned indefinitely, and the franchise fined $500,000. But the real damage was philosophical. The NFL was being sued for concussions at the same time it was paying players to cause them. It exposed football's contradiction. Violence is the product, safety is the marketing. And when the marketing cracks, the truth bleeds through. The elevator incident. In 2014, TMZ released elevator footage showing Ray Rice knocking his fiancée unconscious and dragging her body into a hotel hallway. At first, the NFL suspended him for 2 games, a punishment lighter than what players got for celebrating too long. The backlash was immediate, fans erupted. Then the full video surfaced. Public outrage exploded and the league panicked. Rice was cut and banned indefinitely. The message was clear. The NFL didn't act until the world saw it. The issue wasn't domestic violence, it was optics. Rice never played again, and the league rewrote its policy overnight. But the damage was already done. Behind the Shield was an institution more concerned with headlines than humanity. But first, only cool people are subscribed to this channel, so make sure you are. O.J. Simpson. Before he was a headline, O.J. Simpson was a god. The first running back to rush for 2,000 yards in 14 games, the face of Hertz commercials, and Hollywood's favorite athlete. Then came June 12, 1994. Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman were found murdered. Blood led to O.J.'s house. A bloody glove matched his size. But when police came for him, he fled in the infamous white Bronco, chased on live TV by helicopters while 95 million people watched. The trial became a national obsession. His dream team of lawyers turned evidence into doubt. If it doesn't fit, you must acquit, and he walked free. Years later, a civil court found him liable, and in 2008, he went to prison for armed robbery. OJ got out, but his legacy never did. He wasn't just a football player anymore, he was the line between fame and infamy. The NFL never erased him, but they never claimed him either. Pat Tillman walked away from millions to serve his country after 9/11. He left the Cardinals, enlisted in the Army, and became a symbol of American courage. But when he died in Afghanistan in 2004, the truth didn't match the headlines. The military said he died heroically in battle, until reports surfaced that he'd been killed by friendly fire. 3 bullets to the forehead, fired by his own unit. Then came the real betrayal. The Army destroyed his uniform, burned his journal, and fed the public a false story for weeks to protect its image. When his family pressed for answers, Congress confirmed the cover-up. Tillman wasn't just a fallen soldier. He became a warning about how easily the truth can be buried when heroism becomes PR. The NFL still honors him every year, but what they don't say out loud is the most haunting part. The enemy never killed Pat Tillman. His own side did. The I-5 killer. In 1974, the Packers drafted a wide receiver named Randall Woodfield. He never made the final roster. Instead, he became one of America's most prolific serial killers. After football, Woodfield drifted across the West Coast, robbing, assaulting, and murdering along Interstate 5. The pattern was so distinct that police coined him the I-5 killer. By 1981, he'd been connected to dozens of crimes, from Oregon to California. Investigators believe he killed as many as 44 people, though only one murder was ever proven in court. He's now serving multiple life sentences in Oregon State Penitentiary. The NFL never publicly acknowledged his connection to the league. His name is quietly erased from Packers history. Most fans have no idea that one of the most terrifying killers in U.S. history once wore an NFL uniform. Woodfield's story is a dark reminder that not every fall from the league ends in failure. Some end in something far worse. Chuck Hughes, October 24th, 1971. Detroit Lions versus Chicago Bears. 2 minutes left in the game. Wide receiver Chuck Hughes jogged back to the huddle and suddenly collapsed face down on the turf. Linebacker Dick Butkus was the first to notice, frantically signaling for help as players dropped to their knees. Paramedics rushed in, performing CPR in front of 54,000 silent fans. Hughes never regained consciousness. At just 28 years old, he became the only player in NFL history to die during a game. The cause was a massive heart attack caused by undiagnosed arterial blockage. What happened next was just as chilling. The game resumed minutes later. No tribute, no pause, no replay stoppage. The league simply moved on. For decades, his story faded from memory until Damar Hamlin's collapse in 2023 reignited it. The NFL likes to say football is family, but for Chuck Hughes, that family barely stopped to mourn. Henry Ruggs' crash. One moment of arrogance ended 2 lives. In November 2021, Raiders wide receiver Henry Ruggs III slammed his Corvette into a Toyota RAV4 while driving 156 miles per hour with twice the legal alcohol limit. The car exploded, killing 23-year-old Tina Tintor and her dog instantly. Ruggs, just 22, survived with minor injuries. Police body cam footage showed him sobbing on the road, repeating, "Please don't be dead." Hours later, the Raiders cut him. A first-round pick turned felon overnight. Ruggs pleaded guilty to DUI resulting in death and was sentenced to 3 to 10 years in prison. He'll likely never play again. The tragedy wasn't just about speed, it was about how fragile success can be. One bad decision, one drunk night, and a future that once defined the Raiders now haunts them. The crash site in Las Vegas became a roadside shrine. Tina Tintor's family still visits. Ruggs' career became a tombstone for wasted talent. The Cowboys' White House. In the 1990s, the Dallas Cowboys were untouchable, Super Bowl kings, America's team. But behind closed doors, they were running a circus. Players rented a mansion nicknamed the White House, where they hosted drug-fueled parties, invited escorts, and partied like gods on cocaine. It wasn't just a few bad apples. Stars like Michael Irvin were busted multiple times, including one infamous incident where police found a teammate hiding under a table covered in narcotics. The team somehow kept winning, even as the chaos piled up. Jerry Jones called it boys being boys. The media called it dynasty rot. Years later, Irvin admitted they lived with no fear because the league needed us to win. The NFL stayed silent. The ratings were too good. The Cowboys' White House wasn't just a scandal. It was proof that when you're printing money for the league, morality is optional. The Raiders' Super Bowl sabotage. In 2003, the Raiders reached the Super Bowl under coach Bill Callahan, set to face John Gruden's Buccaneers, their former coach who knew their playbook inside out. Then, 2 days before kickoff, Callahan reportedly changed the entire offensive game plan from run-heavy to pass-heavy. Players like Tim Brown and Jerry Rice accused him of sabotage, saying the sudden switch doomed them. The Buccaneers, knowing the Raiders' tendencies, intercepted Rich Gannon 5 times and destroyed them 48-21. Callahan denied everything, but the whispers never died. Some said he wanted to embarrass the team after falling out with management. Others believed it was personal revenge for Gruden's firing the year before. Whatever the truth, it remains one of the strangest chapters in Super Bowl history. A championship lost not on the field, but in the locker room. Steelers' Steroid Dynasty. The 1970s, Steelers were built like machines. 4 Super Bowls, a Hall of Fame lineup, and a defense nicknamed the Steel Curtain. But years later, several players admitted what fans long suspected. Steroids were everywhere. Lineman Steve Corson openly confessed to using them and said half the roster did too. The NFL didn't start testing until 1987, long after Pittsburgh's dominance. Steroids weren't illegal then, but they were unethical and dangerous. Corson eventually died when a tree crushed his house, his body weakened by heart issues linked to steroid abuse. The question remains, how much of that dynasty was natural? The Steelers are still celebrated as icons, but the league never investigated. Maybe because every team back then was experimenting. The NFL loves the myth of toughness, but the truth is, those legends were chemically engineered. Jovan Belcher tragedy. On December 1st, 2012, Chiefs linebacker Jovan Belcher drove to his girlfriend's home, shot her 9 times, kissed his infant daughter, and then drove to the team's practice facility. There, in front of his coach and general manager, he turned the gun on himself. The team still played a game the next day. Later reports revealed Belcher had suffered repeated concussions and displayed erratic behavior before the murder-suicide. Friends said he was paranoid, forgetful, and volatile, symptoms eerily similar to players later diagnosed with CTE. His girlfriend, Cassandra Perkins, was only 22. Their daughter was 3 months old. The tragedy forced the NFL to finally confront its mental health blind spot. But after a few press releases and counseling programs, the league moved on. Belcher's locker was cleaned out, his name erased. 2 lives gone, 1 baby left behind, and football kept going like it always does. Damar Hamlin collapse. January 2nd, 2023, Monday Night Football, millions watching live as Damar Hamlin of the Buffalo Bills tackles Bengals receiver T. Higgins, then stands up, wobbles, and collapses. Cardiac arrest. His heart stopped on the field. Players surrounded him, some crying, others praying, as CPR continued for nearly 10 minutes. The silence in that stadium was deafening. The game was canceled. The first time in decades the NFL called one off mid-game. Hamlin survived after being revived twice and spent days in critical care. The moment forced America to see football's violence without the glamour. Just a man fighting for his life on national TV. When Hamlin returned months later, the ovation was thunderous. But behind every cheer was fear, because for one night, the NFL's gladiator myth cracked, and everyone saw what was really at stake.